Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Battle Through the Heavens based on novel. So let's start. A small skeleton-like figure slowly appeared in Xiao Yan's sight as the black fog surged. He was wearing black robes, and his face appeared extremely shriveled. Both of his eyes were deep as two clusters of ghost flames danced within them. They emitted traces of an unusual aura. The legendary first Tenzuin of the Hall of Souls, you are finally willing to show yourself. Xiao Yan looked at the elderly figure, before smiling and speaking in a soft voice. The first Tenzuin slowly lifted his head. His shriveled face appeared exceptionally terrifying under the light as ghost flames danced within his eyes. A hoarse voice that gave one goosebumps quietly sounded. Xiao Yan, it is unexpected that you dare to deliver yourself to us. Originally, the clan had decided to let you live a little longer, but now that you have delivered yourself to us, I will help take this life of yours. It is still unknown, just who will be the one taking the life of the other. Xiao Yang laughed. His eyes were unusually dark and cold as he looked at that shriveled old man. This old ghost was the one who had quietly intervened and rescued Saint Jiu back then. Xiao Yang might not be able to defeat him had he revealed himself back then, but it was completely different now. Given Xiao Yang's current eyesight, he was naturally able to see through the strength of the first Tenzuin. He was an intermediate 2-star Do Xing. Thus, he was a little stronger than Xiao Yang even after Xiao Yang's strength soared. However, it was not difficult for Xiao Yang to make up for such a gap. Big brother, why do you need to utter so much nonsense to this young fellow? Just kill him and extract his soul. TSK, a Do Xing soul can match the souls that this branch hall has collected over 100 years. Saint Jiu's eyes flickered. Back then, he had suffered a great loss by Xiao Yang's hands, and he had formed a grudge because of that humiliation. Due to the other party's strength, he did not dare to get back at Xiao Yang, yet Xiao Yang dared to barge into the Hall of Souls at this moment. He needed to force him pay a great price no matter what. Ha ha, old ghost Jiu, you really speak too many unnecessary words. Allow me to block him. Saint Jiu's words had just sounded when the space in front of him became distorted. Yao Lao's body slowly appeared. He smiled as he looked at Jiu. There was some ill intent within his eyes. Yao Chen. Jiu's face sank as he saw Yao Lao appear in front of him. He was just about coldly ridicule Yao Lao when he suddenly sensed the faint pressure being emitted from Yao Lao's body. His expression immediately became ugly. You have actually broken through to the Do Xing class. Yao Lao smiled slightly as he looked at Jiu's somewhat distorted expression. He said, I was merely lucky. You launched a sneak attack against me the last time. This time, I shall return that debt to you. Humph, do not think that I am afraid of you just because you have reached the Do Xing class. I am only a step away from being a Do Xing. Jiu let out a cold snort, but he did not appear to be overly afraid. This place was the Hall of Souls territory. His fighting strength would be strengthened here. He pressed both his palms down. Monstrous black chi surged out of his body, as the many large chains around the hall began to tremble at this moment. Wave after wave of black do chi surged out before finally entering his body. Yao Chen, I will see what right you possess to come to my Hall of Souls to collect debt. My Hall of Souls was able to capture you the last time around. This time, I will definitely capture and imprison you again. A black vapor surged. Jiu seemed like a demon god that had descended to this plane. He lifted his head and roared at the sky. After which, a clang-clang sound could be heard. The black fog contained numerous black chains. They were accompanied by sharp cries, as they rushed toward Yao Lao. That momentum appeared extremely frightening. Yao Lao faintly laughed upon seeing this attack, but he did not pull back. Do Chi erupted and he transformed into a bolt of lightning that collided with Jiu. Xiao Yang also ceased uttering any unnecessary words to the first Tenzuin, while Yao Lao was exchanging blows with Jiu. His eyes swept over the experts from the Hall of Souls around him, before he turned his head to the little fairy doctors group a short distance away. He laughed, "I'll leave the others to you." Although this man hall was tightly guarded with many Tianzuns present, the little fairy doctor and Qing Lin could fight an expert Ban Xing at their current strength. Naturally, they were unafraid of the numerical superiority of the other party. If one included Qing Lin's triple jade green snake flower pupils, it was difficult to predict just who would gain the advantage of numerical superiority during the fight. Humph! The expression of the first Tenzuin turned slightly cold upon seeing these battles erupt. The hands under his sleeves began to swiftly form a seal. The space around Xiao Yan fluctuated after the seal was formed. Many white figures flashed into Xiao Yan's eyes. The surrounding space had suddenly been filled by many sharp, white bones that were piercing toward him with lightning-like speed. Mere child's play. Xiao Yang merely grinned when he saw the lightning speed of the piercing bones. He gently waved his sleeve as a powerful flame erupted from his body. A terrifying temperature melted those piercing bones in an instant. Bone Emperor piercing sky. The piercing bones scattered and an unusually cold cry suddenly sounded. The space above Xiao Yang's head hurriedly fluctuated. An enormous bone blade that contained a strange aura broke through the empty space. It shook as it hacked down at Xiao Yang. An unusual fluctuation scattered after this strange bone blade was swung down. It flew toward Xiao Yang with lightning-like speed. This is spiritual attack. Xiao Yang was slightly startled upon sensing this mysterious fluctuation. It was unexpected that the first Tenzuin actually knew how to use a spiritual attack. Unfortunately, Xiao Yang had never been afraid of anyone when it came to a clash in terms of spiritual attack. Shatter. Xiao Yang's fist was clenched. His expression was calm as he threw a punch forward. There were no fancy movements nor fluctuations of Do Qi. Instead, spiritual strength erupted from Xiao Yang's brow when he threw his fist forward. Boom. An invisible spiritual palm wind rushed away from Xiao Yang's palm. It collided with that bone blade fluctuation in the air. The both of them annihilated each other. The first Tenzuin's body flashed after seeing Xiao Yang easily shatter that spiritual fluctuation. He appeared under the 1,000-foot-large bone blade in the sky. Black fog surged from his hands before the fog turned into a giant hand that grabbed the hilt of the sword. With a cold cry, the bone blade tore through space itself. It was accompanied by an extremely frightening sharp fluctuation, as it was slashed down in fury. That bone blade is a little strange. It seems to be able to injure one's soul. The enormous bone blade rapidly grew in Xiao Yang's eyes. His hands suddenly pressed against empty air as the ground below quickly protruded. Nearly 100 lava pillars suddenly shot out and violently collided with the bone blade from all directions. Humph! The first Tenzuin let out a cold snort after his attack was blocked. The enormous bone blade gently cut, and the 100-plus enormous magma pillars actually began to explode. Even the violent fire energy underground was forcefully suppressed by the blade. Xiao Yang, this bone blade of this old man, has been created from the bones of tens of thousands of people. There are many unknown spiritual blades contained within it. Once this blade invades one's body, one will suffer the bitterness of being devoured by tens of thousands of souls. The bone blade in First Tenzuin's hands slashed horizontally as he spoke in a sinister voice. I think highly of you by using this to take your life. Unorthodox actions. Xiao Yang coldly laughed. He maintained the heavenly flame to guard his body. The whatever blade aura that could injure his soul was blocked. He immediately waved his hand as 5 clusters of flames appeared in front of him. Including the sea heart flame, which he had refined earlier, he had a total of 5 types of genuine heavenly flames. Since you place so much confidence in this broken bone blade of yours, I shall shatter it. Xiao Yang's hand seals changed with lightning-like speed. Following his changing hand seals, the 5 clusters of heavenly flames in front of him began to swell. Within a short instant, they turned into a wolf, leopard, dragon, etc., enormous fire spirits. They floated in the sky and connected with each other. After which, they quickly formed an enormous flame formation. The 5-ring flame expelling technique. If 4 of the 5 spirits were formed by heavenly flames, its might could be comparable to a Qian-class Do skills. Currently, Xiao Yan had used a heavenly flame to form them all. The 5 types of heavenly flames had unleashed the 5-ring flame expelling technique to its limit. 5 types of fire spirits swiftly merged together. They turned into a 1,000-foot-large fire ring in the blink of an eye. The fire ring wildly rotated. Even space itself had completely collapsed at this moment, appearing like ferocious large black mouth. Humph, how arrogant. The first Tenzuin smiled in a dense manner. Black chi surged from within before turning into many ferocious-looking souls. Sharp miserable screeches continued to charge into the bone blade. As these numerous souls surged into it, bright red blood began to gradually appear on the dense, white surface of the bone blade. It appeared like a dark line of blood. Soul destruction / Following the strange trace of blood that appeared on the bone blade, a grave expression began to rise on the first Tenzuin's face. He suddenly waved his hand and an enormous bone blade violently hacked toward the fire ring suspended in the sky. Break it. A flushed red expression surfaced on the first Tenzuin's face. Space collapsed wherever the bone blade passed. The ground that was tens of thousands of feet under them was cut, forming a deep 1,000-foot-wide gully. Rotate. Xiao Yang's hand seal changed as he sensed the ferocity of the first Tenzuin's blade attack. The fire ring was wildly rotated. It appeared like a toothed plate that covered the sky. It emitted a buzzing sound and rushed forward with extreme speed. Finally, it violently collided with that huge bone blade without giving in. An earth-shaking sound immediately erupted over the space that had been sealed. Monstrous energy storms swept apart with uncontrollable speed. That black large hall completely collapsed at this moment. A terrifying energy fluctuation crazily spread to the sky. Even the spatial barrier that covered this area had been shaken to the point where an intense ripple appeared. A faint crack line began to vaguely spread. Boom. The storm wildly shook at the point where the 2 attacks collided. The enormous ring of fire was pushed back as it became more faint, but it still rotated with great speed. In the end, it completely disappeared. A large bone blade flew backwards from the storm the moment the ring of fire had disappeared. It finally landed on a mountain. A frightening force instantly shattered the mountain into complete ruins. The bone blade weakly lay on the shattered stone. It was clear that both parties were unable to obtain much from this head-on collision. Both suffered some injuries. This bone blade is indeed a little mysterious. The large fire array above Xiao Yang's head slowly disappeared. It returned to 5 clusters of flames that were swallowed by him. His eyes were a little startled as he looked at the dense, white bone blade. He was able to sense a quiet and strange fluctuation being emitted from the bone blade upon contact. This kind of ripple was extremely harmful to one's soul. If his heavenly flame wasn't guarding his soul, he would have ended up suffering. You are indeed worthy of being someone who has caused my Hall of Souls to repeatedly fail to capture you. You do possess some ability. The first Tenzuin's eyes vaguely gained an additional solemnness as he looked at Xiao Yang. You have advanced from a 1-star Doshing to a 2-star Doshing within a short year. Even I have to praise you for that. If you are willing to join my Hall of Souls, your position will definitely not be inferior to me. Xiao Yang revealed a strange smile upon hearing these words. The relationship between him and the Hall of Souls had reached a point where neither would rest until the other perished, yet this old fellow actually trying to recruit him. Xiao Yang's strange expression was caught by the first Tenzuin's eyes. This caused the first Tenzuin to feel a little furious in his heart. He coldly laughed, "You arrogant fellow. In the future, you will understand just how powerful the Han clan is across this continent. Someone like you is merely an ant-like existence. It is only too easy for my Han clan to kill you." Is that so? Xiao Yang was non-committal. The corner of his mouth was lifted into a faint arc as he said, "Before this, however, I will first finish you off. With just you." A strange night owl-like laughter was emitted from his mouth. His hand grabbed the mess below, and an enormous bone blade flew up. It was stopped in front of the first Tenzuin. His body moved before standing on the bone blade. Numerous ripples surfaced on the bone blade. The first Tenzuin's body slowly merged into the bone blade. Man and blade merger. Xiao Yang involuntarily lifted his brow upon seeing this merger. Xiao Yang, I have bitterly trained for a couple of 100 years in order to merge my body with the Bone Emperor blade. This is the first time I will use it against an opponent. You will be used as a sacrifice for the blade. The enormous Bone Emperor blade floated in the air. The first Tenzuin's face appeared on its dense, white body. Countless tiny blood scars slowly spread over the blade, appearing as though they were densely packed blood vessels. The first Tenzuin's voice had just sounded when the Bone Emperor blade shook. Its existence quickly vanished. What great speed! Shock rose within Xiao Yang's heart the moment the bone blade disappeared. His body pulled back in reflex. The space in front of Xiao Yang fluctuated the moment he did so. A sharp blade suddenly slashed down. The blade was half a foot from Xiao Yang's head. Your reaction is indeed quite quick. A strange laughter was emitted from the Bone Emperor blade after the slash missed. The blade shook and an unusual cry was suddenly emitted. Countless blade shadows appeared in a flash. They wrapped around Xiao Yang in the next moment, before the sharp blade glows aimed at the lethal spots around Xiao Yang. 6-joint body flowing ruler. Xiao Yang's expression became solemn as the sharp attacks from the Bone Emperor blade pressed down on him. He clenched his hand and the heavy Xian ruler appeared in it. The ruler shook as many ruler shadows formed a defensive net that wrapped around his body. Clang clang. Numerous sharp blade shadows poured onto the ruler figures like a storm, causing waves of sparks to erupt. The surrounding space would split and form a dark black crack each time the ruler shadows and the blade shadows clashed. The Bone Emperor blade's attacks began to soar as it faced Xiao Yang's tortoiseshell-like defense. This extremely frightening attacking speed caused a grave expression to flash across Xiao Yang's eyes. Just this attack alone would enable the first Tenzuin to fight against advanced 2-star Douxing experts. Even Yao Ming would have difficulty defeating him. The so-called blade and man merger was indeed quite mysterious. Bang! Xiao Yang focused his mind as he built his defense. A sense of danger suddenly rose within his heart at a certain instant as his head was suddenly turned. Boom! A glaring blade light forcefully tore through the ruler shadows around Xiao Yang the moment his head turned. A sharp cold ray of light slashed Xiao Yang's shoulder. The ray of light emitted a wave of light the moment it made contact with his body. That sharp blade light was hindered. Soon after, the light was forcefully parted by a blade as the Bone Emperor blade mercilessly hacked into Xiao Yang's shoulder. Sparks shot out the moment Xiao Yang was struck, but fresh blood did not flow from him. A couple of broken scale fragments shot out. Those scale fragments came from the Dragon Phoenix ancient armor hidden under his skin that had been summoned by him at this critical moment. The heavy ruler in Xiao Yang's hands was suddenly swung after the Bone Emperor blade struck him. It ruthlessly smashed into the Bone Emperor blade and sent the blade flying. He turned his head and looked at the faint bloody mark on his shoulder. His expression became slightly gloomy. It was the first time that his defensive formation had been forcefully broken after he had used the 6-joint body-flowing ruler. From this, one could tell just how frightening the offensive speed of the first Tenzuin was after both man and blade merged. What a tough body. The first Tenzuin's body once again appeared on the Bone Emperor blade that had been sent flying. He strangely laughed as he looked at Xiao Yang and said, "Your speed is too slow. It is unable to catch up with me after I have merged with the blade." Xiao Yang was without expression. He nodded slowly, but did not deny the strength of this first Tenzuin. Just this attack could challenge an advanced 2-star Douxing. This point alone allowed the first Tenzuin to be proud. A long breath of air was slowly emitted from within Xiao Yang's mouth. His expression gradually became grave as both of his hands were placed together. After which, they swiftly changed and formed numerous complicated hand seals. Following the change in these hand seals, the spiritual strength on his brow suddenly broke from his body. It transformed into a huge illusionary figure that covered his body. Since you are fast, I shall be faster than you. Xiao Yan's hand slowly stilled. A cold smile was lifted on his face, yellow spring divine anger. Xiao Yan's mind moved as the large illusionary figure slowly widened its huge mouth. A terrifying spiritual attack suddenly swept out like a storm. Boom! This terrifying sonic spiritual attack disseminated through the air. The bodies of nearly 70% of the Hall of Souls experts in this area suddenly stiffened at this moment. A bang sounded as their bodies vanished. Both their souls and their physical bodies had been destroyed by this spiritual assault. The powerful spiritual attack was detected by the first Tenzuin. Before he could do anything after just detecting it, that spiritual attack struck his body. The enormous bone emperor blade was sent flying at this moment. An elderly figure also flew out of the blade the moment this spiritual attack landed. A mouthful of fresh blood was wildly spat out. The first Tenzuin was sent flying from the bone emperor blade by Xiao Yan. Yellow spring finger. Xiao Yan suddenly pressed, with his finger, after watching the first Tenzuin get forcefully thrown out of the bone emperor blade. An enormous energy hand then appeared before it ruthlessly pressed onto the body of the first Tenzuin. A frightening strength caused the first Tenzuin's body to explode almost instantly. His arm turned into a bloody fog. Yellow spring palm. A roar and a finger turned the situation around, but Xiao Yan did not show any mercy. He once again slammed his palm forward as an enormous energy palm formed. It struck the first Tenzuin SN body. The first Tenzuin's body was like a cannonball as it shot down from the sky and ruthlessly pierced the ground. A frightening wave forcefully rose from the land, forming a pit a couple of thousand of feet deep. In 3 strikes, the demon Saint Hong Quan's 3 ultimate skills were unleashed by Xiao Yan with extreme familiarity. The yellow spring divine anger would harm one's soul, while the yellow spring finger and the yellow spring palm would destroy one's body. Their combined might could only be described as terrifying. Xiao Yan floated in the sky. He slowly exhaled a breath of air as his eyes looked at the deep pit with some indifference. There was a little aura lingering at that spot. Clearly, the first Tenzuin still had a couple of breaths remaining. Die. Xiao Yan's eyes were cold and indifferent. His finger aimed at the bottom of the deep pit from a great distance. He suddenly clenched his hand as the large hall suddenly emitted an extremely powerful energy ripple. The space in front of Xiao Yan became distorted. A figure slowly appeared. At the same time, an unusually powerful aura also swept over this sealed space. Xiao Yan, how dare you? Xiao Yan grinned after hearing the low and deep sound. He looked at the ghost-like figure. It seemed as though he did not feel that it was strange for this human figure to suddenly appear. His voice was calm as he said, "Deputy Chief of the Hall of Souls, are you finally unable to hold back any longer after hiding for such a long time?" The human figure that had appeared in front of Xiao Yan was completely wrapped within a black fog. 2 unusually dark and dense eyes shot out of the fog, causing one's heart to feel a lingering fear. This mysterious person was surprisingly the Deputy Chief of the Hall of Souls, who had intervened when the Sky Mansion Alliance was formed back then. "Xiao Yan, you are forcing my Hall of Souls to hand you the corpse of Xiao Zhan." The black fog slowly rippled as an unusually pale face was revealed. That face did not appear old. Instead, it appeared like a youth, but the tone that this youth used was unusually sinister. This allowed one to understand that this person's age was definitely not what he revealed on the surface. "I have said that if anything happens to my father, I will hand the Qiu Shi ancient god jade to the Jiyu clan." Xiao Yan faintly smiled. He did not feel the slightest fear. If one were to reveal even the slightest weakness to these people from the Hall of Souls, these people would grab onto it and one would never be able to recover. Even though he was constantly worried about Xiao Zhan's safety in his mind, he did not reveal such thoughts through his actions. Otherwise, the ones who would end up suffering would be his father and him. There is no need for it. You will perhaps not be given such an opportunity. I will personally bring you back to the Hun clan this time around and allow the both of you to be reunited. a cold and indifferent smile surfaced on the face of the deputy hall chief. Originally, the clan was planning to allow you to live a little longer. However, it seems you do not treasure such an opportunity. Xiao Yan was non-committal. He was too lazy to utter such nonsense to this deputy chief. With a wave of his hand, a hot flame suddenly shot toward the large pit below. He was planning on beating a dog when it was down, so he would finish off the first Tenzuin in this place. The eyes of the deputy chief of the Hall of Souls immediately turned cold after he saw Xiao Yang attack to kill in front of him. He flicked his finger and a black vapor rolled out. The black vapor turned into a black dragon that swallowed the flame. After which, his large hand reached for Xiao Yang. Black fog shot out of his fingers in all directions. These black fogs transformed into 5 large chains that rushed toward Xiao Yang with a crashing sound. Do not think that you can act arrogantly just because you have broken through to the 2nd star of the Xiang class. You are not even worth mentioning in front of me. A ferocity surfaced on the deputy hall chief's face. His strength was an advanced 3-star Xiang, and he was only a little weaker compared to the 3 great dragon kings from the 3 dragon islands. This kind of strength could completely destroy Xiao Yang. However, Xiao Yang's expression continued to remain calm as the deputy chief of the Hall of Souls' sharp attack came. Xiao Yang did not intend to deal with this attack. Instead, he grabbed at the large pit below from a great distance. A large fire hand appeared in the sky and reached for the large pit below. You are seeking death. The eyes of the deputy hall chief turned gloomy when he saw Xiao Yang completely ignore him. He gave a dense smile as the black chains encircled Xiao Yang before suddenly tightening. Clang clang. The space around Xiao Yang suddenly fluctuated when the black chains were about to entwine around him. An extremely wild and violent chaotic spatial flow spread. A terrifying tearing force shattered those chains. Who is it? The sudden intervention caused the deputy hall chief to feel startled. His eyes hurriedly swept around as he cried out in a cold voice. You are also not worth mentioning in the eyes of this emperor. A cold voice slowly sounded after the deputy hall chief uttered those words. The deputy hall chief then saw a lovely well-proportioned figure suddenly appear in front of Xiao Yang. He could sense a relatively dense pressure emanating from this figure. Who are you? This is a matter of my Hall of Souls. Outsiders should not intervene lest you get implicated. The deputy hall chief's eyes were grave as he stared at the purple-haired figure and demanded in a deep voice. Is the Hall of Souls very great? Xiang curled her lips upon hearing this. She appeared to hold great disdain. During the powerful and prosperous times of the ancient Void Dragon tribe, they were not even afraid of the Hun clan. Even less needed to be said about a subordinate faction of the Hun clan, such as the Hall of Souls. Xiao Yang has said that he will turn this place into a bloodbath today. Xiang's pretty eyes swept over this deputy hall chief of the Hall of Souls. She faintly smiled and said, wouldn't it have been fine if you simply continued to hide inside? Why do you need to come out and seek death? How arrogant. I'm afraid that you do not have the ability to kill me. The deputy hall chief's expression was extremely ugly as he cried out in a cold voice. This was the first time in many years that he had heard such an obvious threat and felt looked down upon. Although he could sense that Xiang was an expert who had reached the 4th star of the Xiang class, he might not end up dead if they were to really fight. Xiao Yang glanced at this deputy hall chief before completely ignoring him. He maneuvered his hand, causing the large flame hand to pull the first Tenzuin from the large and deep pit. At this moment, the first Tenzuin's arm had exploded into a bloody fog as fresh blood covered his body. Even his soul had been wounded by the yellow spring divine anger from earlier. His sight had even become a little blurry since his physical body, and even his soul had suffered severe damage. Xiao Yang's eyes calmly observed the first Tenzuin, who seemed to be so badly wounded that he was unable to retaliate. His large fire hand pulled the first Tenzuin over, but that dull old face suddenly revealed a renewed ferocity when the first Tenzuin was less than 100 feet from Xiao Yang. His body started to swell. Boom. The swelling body was only midway done when Xiao Yang clenched his fist without expression. The large fire hand mercilessly crushed the first Tenzuin. This frightening force caused the first Tenzuin's physical body to burst apart. A black light suddenly shot away after the first Tenzuin's physical body had exploded. It wildly shot toward the deputy hall chief of the Hall of Souls. Trying to escape, Xiao Yan let out a cold snort after noticing that the soul of the first Tenzuin was planning to flee. When it came to such an expert, it was possible to change to another physical body and be reborn as long as one's soul was not destroyed. At that time, he would become a big threat again. Naturally, it was impossible for Xiao Yang to simply allow such a threat to escape. So he flicked his finger, and the large fire hand turned into a fire web that wrapped around the first Tenzuin's soul. How dare you? The expression of the deputy chief of the Hall of Souls sank upon seeing Xiao Yang's attempt to capture the first Tenzuin. He lifted his hand and a black fog erupted from his sleeve in all directions. The black fog blotted out the sun and permeated the air as it swept toward Xiao Yang. You will not be able to attack in front of this emperor. Xiang coldly laughed when this deputy hall chief attacked. Her hands formed a seal with lightning-like speed and a dark golden luster erupted from her body. In the blink of an eye, this luster formed a huge golden dragon. The dragon widened its mouth and acted like a large whale that was swallowing water. Within a couple of inhalations, the dragon had devoured the black fog even with the fog's extremely powerful erosion properties. The ancient void dragon tribe. The deputy chief of the Hall of Souls exclaimed, after seeing the large golden dragon that Xiang had summoned. Come back. Xiao Yang reached out with his hand after Xiang blocked the deputy hall chief of the Hall of Souls. The fire web wrapped around the first Tenzuin's soul. The high temperature radiating from the web caused the first Tenzuin to let out a miserable screech. Soon after, the soul flew back and landed in Xiao Yang's hands. Xiao Yang looked at the cluster of black fog in the fire web in his hand. The black fog churned before gathering into the face of first Tenzuin. There was an incomparable viciousness filling that face. Xiao Yang ignored the hatred of the first Tenzuin. He shrank the fire barrier and formed a fire jade bottle. After which, he placed a spiritual seal onto it and tossed it into his storage ring. Since that fellow was the first Tenzuin of the Hall of Souls, he would definitely be aware of many secrets. It might be possible to gain some information about the Hall of Souls' motive for gathering souls from his mouth. It is unexpected that you are even able to request the ancient void dragon tribe to help you. The deputy hall chief of the Hall of Souls involuntarily laughed in extreme anger after watching Xiao Yang seal the soul of the first Tenzuin. A 4-star Doshing could be considered a top expert even within the Han clan. He had not expected Xiao Yang to be able to invite such an expert this time around. However, my Hall of Souls is not a place that a young fellow like you can turn into a bloodbath just because you wish to. The deputy hall chief of the Hall of Souls suddenly pulled back. At the same time, a silver jade token appeared in his hand. He shattered the token and an extremely dense spatial fluctuation began to rapidly spread, but he was stunned to find that a spatial tunnel did not appear after the spatial token was broken. The spatial energy fluctuated for a moment before slowly disappearing. I have already used the chaotic spatial flow to surround the space in this area. No spatial ripple can be emitted. Hence, you will not be able to summon any reinforcements even if you use a spatial jade token. Xiang spoke with a smile as she mocked the deputy chief of the Hall of Souls, whose expression gradually became ugly. The deputy hall chief's face twitched. His heart finally sank. This time around, Xiao Yang's group had really come prepared. The Hall of Souls has been chasing after both my teacher and me for so many years. It is now time to repay that debt. Relax. I will tear down the heaven, earth, and man halls one at a time. Xiao Yang's eyes were filled with a dense promise as he looked at the deputy chief of the Hall of Souls and spoke. Xiao Yang, the only mistake that my Hall of Souls has made during these years is failing to kill you early on. This has allowed you to gain strength, but you should not be happy. Although my Han clan cannot attack you because of the agreement between the ancient clans, it will not be long before the agreement will not be able to restrain my Han clan. At that time, you will discover that my Han clan far exceeds your imagination. The deputy hall chief of the Hall of Souls inhaled a deep breath of air. He looked at this devastated space. Even half of the large black hall had collapsed. A large number of the experts from the Hall of Souls had been lost during the energy wave that had been emitted from the earlier battle. This time around, the losses of the Man Hall were incomparably miserable. At that time, your Xiao clan and the Sky Manian Alliance will be completely eliminated. The deputy hall chief of the Hall of Souls laughed a dense laugh as his body suddenly exploded. Black fog spread and forcefully tore the chaotic spatial flow apart. His body moved, shot into the tier, and disappeared. This person had abandoned everyone within the Man Hall. This video will end here.